Now, I don't really like calling any horror movie bad. Camp is a good thing in my books. A weak story can be salvaged with special effects, ridiculous scenarios, and any number of other Midnight Madness classics. And in fact, a lot of what some people might consider to be detriments actually entertain me a whole lot. You know, horror is a favorite genre of mine. I don't know if you guys knew that. But some movies just can't be saved. They're obviously trying to cash in on something, or the studio stepped in and muddled up all the ideas. Often these turds can end up being so bad they're good, but those are special cases. It's not uncommon for them to just end up being so bad that they're bad. So let's take a look at 5 frightful exercises in fear and flaming out. And remember, when making top 5 lists, it's hard to cover everything. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 worst horror movies of all time. I know, that's a pretty astounding title right there. We're reaching for the heavens here. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more turbulent tales. Perfect, let's do it. Coming in at number 5, we've got The Mangler. Anyone who's read Stephen King's short story collection Night Shift will recognize this tale. It stands out as being a little ridiculous, even among other early iterations of King's short storytelling. In a book filled with cosmic horror-filled family homes, hammer-wielding bachelors, and disgusting mutant rats, you would think there'd be no weird ideas. The Mangler is a weird idea. It's all about a gigantic industrial laundry folding machine with a thirst for blood. Yeah, it's out there. The short story is serviceable with just enough King-style charm to push folks through to the end. The machine somehow became cursed after it killed a poor young woman, and now it wants more blood. It munches laundry workers for a while, but soon becomes restless and unseats itself from the concrete. Imagine a 1-ton washer vibrating down the road towards you, crushing cars and crumbling sidewalks. Horrifying, right? Well, the movie tried to capture some of that odd appeal and fell extremely flat. Surprisingly, the person at the helm of this flick is the one and only Tobe Hooper. Not his proudest achievement, I'm sure. Throughout the movie, the Flatiron Laundry Press takes the lives of many hapless folks, usually through some large feats of stupidity. At the beginning, it's never really the Mangler's fault that people are perishing. Sure, it's a dangerous, outdated machine, but laundry workers are sticking their arms where they don't belong and full out climbing into the mouth of this thing. Hard to believe this kind of stuff would keep happening after 2 or 3 incidents. I suppose it's the influence of the mean and nasty laundromat owner that keeps folks putting their flesh and blood on the line. No health and safety committee either. The characters are one-dimensional, the storytelling is uninteresting, and the gore is too infrequent to keep you glued to the screen. Unless you're the proud owner of a machine like the Mangler, there isn't much to be scared of here. Coming in at number 4, we've got 11, 11, 11. I think this movie might only exist because someone decided it was a good idea to release a horror movie on November 11th, 2011 at 11:11. I respect the dedication to the bit, but that's about it. Funnily enough, back during my college radio days, I attempted to do a live movie giveaway. 11:11:11 was one of the movies that any lucky viewer could come and pick up, and nobody ever did. Legend says that it's still sitting on the shelves of Riot Radio to this day. So if you're ever out there, feel free to go pick it up yourself. Although, I don't know why anybody would want to do that. This movie is a big pile of nothing. It's actually kind of like the Jim Carrey-led thriller The Number 23, but even less compelling. My goodness, hard to imagine, right? We meet an author in the throes of grief. His wife and child have recently died in a tragic house fire, and we keep seeing it from different angles via flashback. Support groups and moping around are doing nothing to help him get his life back on track, and to make matters worse, his father is dying. He returns to Barcelona to see his family and is soon embroiled in a strange, quasi-religious numerology conspiracy. There's something about the number 11, you see. Ghosts show up at 11:11. The number shows up all over the place, and the internet tells him it's bad. And as he learns more and more about this dangerous digit, the plot goes nowhere. It doesn't help that none of the performances are any good either. This is a primetime example of the kind of soulless horror that the 2010s churned out. Shot digitally with a blue-tinged color grade, there is nothing to set this apart from literally anything else. No camp, no goof-ups, no anachronistic soundtrack. If I wasn't writing this list, I would have likely forgotten this movie existed. It's bad in a way that makes it so incredibly boring to watch. I might just default to calling it 33 to save time in the future. Did anything weird actually end up happening on 11:11:11 proper? Coming in at number 3, we've got the Disappointments Room. You can probably tell that this is a stinker from the title. Like, am I supposed to be scared of something called the Disappointments Room? It sounds like a timeout zone that new age parents would put their kids in. Well, as it turns out, a disappointments room is actually sort of like that. The story behind the name is a little darker than a cushy cool-down chamber for McKaylee, though. Back in the day, some affluent folks would build secret little rooms to hide their so-called disappointments in. Children with physical or mental disabilities would often be locked away in these rooms, doomed to a life of loneliness and shame. Which leads us to the premise of this movie. Kate Beckinsale moving into an old home in the middle of nowhere to escape her demons. Well, guess what, Kate? There are more demons waiting for you. The house, understandably, is full of ghosts and ghoulies and one sexy handyman. She wrestles with her guilt alongside these supernatural specters, and not a whole lot happens. In fact, a lot of plot points that might have ended up being interesting just kind of get left in the lurch. The whole thing feels half-baked at best, which shouldn't come as much of a surprise considering that this movie was brought back from the dead after its distributor came out of bankruptcy. Another slick and largely substanceless horror flick for the books. Coming in at number 2, we've got Shark Night 3D. Some movies are really fun to watch because they constantly take things too far. Think Sharknado or Piranha 3D or Snakes on a Plane. Some movies try to capture that appeal and end up bungling it. Shark Night 3D is one of those movies. Directed by David Ellis of Snakes on a Plane fame, this flick just doesn't live up to the ridiculous goodness of that Samuel L. Jackson vehicle. No, Shark Night 3D tries to be just as goofy and silly and over the top as possible, and ends up just being a mess. With flicks like this, you need to crank everything up to 10, right? More blood, more gore, more sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Well, Shark Night 3D earned itself a more family-friendly PG-13 rating, effectively preventing it from featuring any of the above assets. It just feels sanitized, safe, toothless. However you want to describe it, it's just missing something. And the editing is, well, just look at this. None of the actors give stand-up performances, and the story itself is lacking in depth or truly fun shark antics. At least the explanation of how the sharks made it to the lake is kind of interesting. In the end, when you remove all of the dangerous elements from a shark movie, you're left with a dud. Maybe the director's cut's more fun. And finally, at number 1, we've got The Wicker Man. Here we go, the horror movie everyone loves to hate. A lot of early 2000s flicks are getting retrospectives and essays written about how they simply weren't understood by the general audience at their time of release. They're hidden gems, you see, buried by negative critical attention and skewed audience expectations. I dare you to make that argument about 2006's The Wicker Man. This movie fails in every possible way, except for maybe providing Nick Cage with an excuse to absolutely lose it on camera. Scares? Nowhere to be found. Tension took a vacation. An interesting, coherent plot never met her. The Wicker Man is so extremely strange, so wildly disjointed, it's a wonder that anyone managed to sit through the whole thing at all. Nick Cage, of course, is the saving grace, providing the audience with intense moments of overacting like no one else can. But what made director Neil LaBute decide that remaking the 70s cult classic in such a way was a good idea? I mean, it might as well be a comedy. From the unexplained explosion to kick off the movie to the rampaging bear suit wearing Nick absolutely decking unsuspecting women to the infamous bees sequence, it's a wonder this made it to theaters. I'm glad it did, but for lots of reasons that have nothing to do with the quality of the movie. Right on. Maybe pick literally any other movie to watch this weekend. Like, you could probably pick one at total random and likely have a better time than you would watching any of these. Well, I guess depending on the kind of person you are, The Wicker Man might be an evergreen good time, but otherwise, err on the side of caution. So what'd you think of the list? Do you agree with my selections? Did I pick one of your all-time favorites and insult you deeply? What's the worst horror movie of all time in your opinion? Do all movies have merit? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more encroaching ones from the top 5 scary demons that are actually good. David Bayless says, GOP is also the generally accepted accounting practices, possibly more truly evil. Yeah, it's very possible that early accountants looked to demons for inspiration. How else would they have gained so much power over us mortals? Noodle Monkey 15 says, my favorite demon is Keegan, curator of horrors. I've already started stocking up on Pringles for a summoning ritual. Just make sure you double down on the jalapeno ones, okay? I like my snacks spicy. Sebastian Bishop says, good thing you didn't consider anime demons. They love their whole the demon is a good guy / the good guy was a demon the whole time twists and themes. Yeah, I figured we could save those for a whole other list. We love a good wrestling with the evil within plotline. Nelson Chris says, sorry, there's no such thing as good demons. They're good at lying and torturing though. And what if you're into that kind of stuff? And Magi Games says, dude, I am a big fan of this channel, so can I get a shout out in a vid please? And I have a YouTube video. You're a big fan, eh? Name 5 of our albums. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I fight a gigantic alien beast with a wooden sword, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more bargain bin beauty. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.